This is C.L.S. All-in-One, and if you have a Frigidaire Affinity washer or another washing machine that looks similar to this, or similar to this model, and you're having problems with it not draining or spinning fast, then more than likely you have a clogged drain, and I'll show you how to fix that today. So I have a Frigidaire Affinity washer, and this does not have a bottom access panel, so it makes the job a little bit harder. If you had the Frigidaire Affinity model with a bottom access panel, just remove the two screws on the bottom to remove that access panel, and that's going to make this job a lot easier. So to start with, you want to go ahead and unplug the machine first, then go ahead and turn off the water supply to it, and you may have to unhook the hoses also. Then we're going to tilt the machine back against the wall. Once tilted back, you'll notice there's a small access hole on the bottom of the washer, and that's where we're going to be doing all the work from. So you should see a big rubber boot that's connected to the drum. There's going to be a clamp on the top of that located right here that we're going to be loosening. A Phillips screwdriver should do the job. We want to get that loose enough to where you can pull that clamp down. But before we pull that boot off, make sure you have a rag handy because some water is probably going to spill out. And it should pull out very easy once the clamp's loose enough. So now that the boot's loose, we're trying to access the trap filter, which is located at the bottom of this rubber boot. This trap catches large debris and keeps it from reaching the water pump. So I'm going to just start squeezing at the bottom of the boot and try to push that trap upwards so I can grab it from the top and pull it out. If this proves to be too hard, you may have to remove this clamp down below to make it a little bit easier to get the trap out. Although I'm going to show you in this video that it's not necessary to remove that bottom clamp to get the trap out. It's definitely a little difficult to pull this trap out though. It took me about 4 minutes the first try to pull mine out. The trap is made of rigid plastic and cylinder shaped, so you should feel it when you stick your hand in there. So I finally pulled the trap out of there, and it is very full. So this is definitely my problem, why it's not draining. It's full of all kinds of coins and debris, and it smells disgusting. So instead of functioning like a trap like it's supposed to, this is just a big plug now. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the trap out now and show you some of the debris. There's all kinds of coins, tool bits, garbage, pieces of rag, and this smells so awful. Every time my washer's been trying to drain lately, it's been putting off this horrible smell, and this is probably why. So because the trap was so full of debris, I'm concerned that there might be some debris by my water pump. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this bottom clamp and inspect the water pump now. To loosen these clamps, they have tabs, and you squeeze the tabs together to make the clamp bigger, and then you can pull the clamp loose. Unfortunately, with the bottom clamp, the tabs may or may not be visible. The tabs for my clamp are on the opposite side, so I'm going to have to use a small pair of pliers and feel by touch to loosen the clamp. This can prove to be rather difficult to loosen that bottom clamp, especially if those tabs are on the opposite side and you don't have the bottom access panel. If my trap wasn't as full as it was, I would just skip this part. Now that the clamp's loosened, I'm going to go ahead and swivel it to the other side so it's much easier to put back on when I put it together. It should rotate by hand fairly easy. So the water pump is this white piece right here, and the impeller is located inside there. So I'm going to fill by hand inside here to make sure the impeller turns easy. And at the same time, I'm going to fill for any debris that might need to be cleaned out of there. So if you're unable to turn the impeller by hand and it's seized, or there's some debris in there that you cannot remove, you may have to go ahead and take the water pump assembly out for repair or replacement. To remove the water pump, you're going to have to remove a clamp located right here. Then you're also going to have to remove some screws that are located on the bottom base of the water pump. They're located on each side here. And you can use either a Phillips screwdriver or an 8mm socket, but it may be a different size. Once the screws are loose, there's going to be a wire harness down clip on the back of the water pump. Since there's nothing wrong with my water pump, I will not be removing it today. Okay, now it's time to put everything back together. Here's a look at the trap filter. Notice there's a lip on the top of the trap here. We're going to go ahead and push that down inside this boot until that lip is flush with the very bottom lip of the rubber boot. So we're just going to go ahead and finesse it down in the boot here and go ahead and push it down until the lip of the trap is flush with this bottom lip of the rubber boot. So the body of the trap should be inside the rectangular portion of the boot. Now it's time to secure our clamps back in place. I'm going to start with the bottom clamp here first. You'll want to double check and make sure the clamp is secure. Make sure the boot doesn't just pull right off. Now it's time to attach the rubber boot to the drum and go ahead and get the clamp back in place. Again, make sure you have it nice and tight and make sure the boot doesn't pull off. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and test it. Before I was not able to get the drum to spin fast to dry the clothes and the water wouldn't drain out. Now as you can see, it's spinning plenty fast and it's draining the water out just fine. Also, if you did end up taking that water pump out, you might be able to repair it before you replace it. There's going to be 3 screws on the back side of the water pump where you can take it apart like a clamshell to see if there's any debris in there or anything that's going to keep it from moving. If it's clearly damaged, you might just have to replace it.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This is C.L.S. All-in-One. If you want to hear more from me, please like and subscribe.
And to see more of my videos, just click any of these categories to see more.